everybody, and welcome back to Dude's Brunch, the late-night morning talk show where four people talk about four things they found on the internet. I'm your host, Taylor Olmstead. With me, as always, to talk about the internet and breakfast food, it's Tyler Reed. Tyler, what did you have for brunch today?
Hey, everybody. I had the classic pancakes, sausage, maple syrup with the lovely Catherine DiMartino.
And coffee?
Not till later. I went to Findlay Market to pick up some Asian snacks and dinner stuffs, so I didn't have my coffee till later in the day.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Still counts. Sean Evans, what did you have for brunch today?
I had leftover macaroni and cheese from last night. And leftover Chinese food.
Is it instant macaroni and cheese, or like...
No, we made it homemade. It's homemade.
Okay, that makes it less disappointing.
I was in Athens last night because Sarah graduated this weekend, so her sisters came over and we had we made crusted salmon and asparagus and this homemade macaroni and cheese, and it was absolutely delicious.
That sounds amazing. I'm very jealous. Amazing. Congratulate Sarah for me, by the way.
Aw, she's listening. She'll hear you.
Good. Congratulations on your graduation, Sarah. And our guest this week, Zach Shonkwiler. Welcome to the show. What did you have for brunch today?
I had some chocolate-covered pretzels, chicken tacos, a Corona, and a cup of coffee. I've made some bad choices in my life, guys. I don't know how I got here.
I don't know what you're talking about. You hit all the major food groups on that brunch.
Was that
as the correspondent for Bad Breakfast Choices? That's a pretty good breakfast choice.
Yeah, last week Sean had an ice cream sandwich. That's it. Just an ice cream sandwich.
I mean, to be fair, an ice cream sandwich is certainly more substantial than the usual black hot coffee. So, I mean, is it really that bad? Was the Corona hot or cold? Was it?
Oh, it was at a Mexican restaurant, so it was ice cold, buddy.
Wait,
with lime?
With lime, yeah. I put that thing right in the bottle, like, a man.
I'm confused. So your brunch wasn't Mexican food?
No, it's difficult. I work in a coffee shop, so I have the coffee, and I had that with me. And then me and my coworkers went to the Mexican restaurant next door after we got off shift, because I opened the coffee shop. So it was like an early morning shift.
Gotcha.
Thus, and we have chocolate there, so I got the chocolate pretzels, yada yada, coffee, yada, etc.
Got it. So your lunch was Mexican. Got it, not your brunch.
Hey,
lunch.
No, that was brunch. It was 11. It was 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have established before, brunch is anytime between 10 and 3. Tyler, I feel like you fight this all the time.
I was just clarifying. He didn't say he had Mexican for brunch. He said he had coffee and Corona and pretzels.
I said the chicken tacos.
Oh.
Details. Details are important. Not many do.
I somehow neglected the part that was the first thing that you said was his chicken tacos.
It's okay.
Anyway, I'm your host, Taylor, and for brunch this morning I had eggs and toast and black coffee, because I'm a traditionalist. Well, as always, we have four things from the internet to talk about this week, and you can play along at home playing Dude's Brunch Bingo, dudesbrunch.wordpress.com/bingo. Tyler made a new board. Let's see if anybody actually wins any prizes.
Please use it. I like how Taylor's like, no conversation about my brunch. I don't want to talk about my eggs.
They were just eggs. Is there anything we can say?
Did you put salsa on them at least? Did you do anything to them? Did you pepper them?
Yeah, it was like a fried egg, so salt and pepper. Okay.
I made an egg this weekend.
The story's in the details, Taylor.
And I forgot to put grease in the pan.
Ooh.
And so I made it, and I was like trying to like scrape it up. And then I forgot it was on the stove after. Luckily, I had like taken it off, but I came out and it was cold. So I just like reached in there, bare hand style, and just like folded it and like a taco and just.
That's sad, Sean. That's so sad. I weep for your brunch.
It was a busy weekend.
I had legit brunch both days this weekend. And I was really proud of myself. That never happens. What also never happens is us moving along in a timely fashion to our first topic, which this week comes from Sean. Sean, what did you find this week?
Lego Train. As
right.
Dude's Brunch Lego correspondent, I decided... Well, I didn't really decide. I probably changed my topic like 3 times before I just posted a link. I was like, this is what we're talking about this week. But for a good reason. So we're going to post the link in the video, but basically it's this guy who sets up this huge Lego train in his house, and he puts a camera on the front of it, and it's this like magical Lego train adventure where it goes through his house, now through his garden and all this stuff. Super awesome. I wish that we could see the video. I had like live reacted my face to watch this video, because when it goes outside and it's like going through his garden, I was just like, oh, this is so cool. Like everything I wanted when I was a child is embodied in this Lego train. So initial reactions, what did you guys think about the Lego train?
My initial reaction when I watched the Lego train was I thought about the guy who's way too into trains. Do you guys remember that YouTube video?
I just thought you meant like a general person.
No. He's like standing by the train tracks, and this train is coming up, and you can tell that he like got up early to go see this train come through this tiny little town. And he's like yelling and cheering for this train and the train whistle. And then it turns out that it's towing another famous train engine, and he gets even more excited, and he's like jumping up and down and yelling. I'll put a link in the show notes, but this seems like what that guy does when he's at home not staring at rare trains.
Tyler, Zach, any reactions to...
Sorry, I'm just thinking of the guy that he just described. Now it's on my mind. No, here's the thing. I get really, really excited about cool Lego creations, because even though I've gotten away from it in my older age, I love Legos. It just sucks because they're just, yeah, whatever. That part doesn't matter. Why I don't play with Legos anymore doesn't matter. Well, probably because I'm an adult. But it's just cool to see people make these things. But I couldn't help but, like, I was waiting for, like, something a little bit cooler than, like, the standard, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the switchers and everything was amazing. Really great. Fantastic. And I really think it's awesome that the guy managed to balance the GoPro or whatever camera device he did so it didn't make the front too top heavy and, you know, flip whenever it was going across some of those turns. But when it went outside, I will admit, I did say out loud, holy shit, it goes outside.
That's like that too. So going inside, I wasn't that impressed, but as soon as it went outside, I was like, oh my god, Sarah, come here. Sarah, come look at this.
So I think what Zach is saying is that he wants this train to do like flips and shit and like do like a loop-de-loop, like a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, if you could have incorporated like the Hot Wheels little foam like disc that speed it up like thing,
right?
Like, that would have been cool. No,
he wants some train stunts. He wants some pyrotechnics. This like 50 feet like long train set. It's okay. It doesn't do flips though.
Yeah, I mean, if they could get like Rammstein's pyrotechnic guy or something, I don't know.
I really thought the cat was going to chase it. When it like drove by the cat, and I was like, oh, come on, just chase the train. Right. Didn't even move.
Or that dog. There was also a dog. He was just like, whatever, it's fine. But you're right, the cat was definitely way too close.
But that is a testament to how much this dude does trains, that like his pets don't even react anymore. They're just like, oh yeah, the train, whatever.
I will say, I was kind of disappointed there wasn't any like Snidely Whiplash, like hog-tied like little figurine or anything to the track at some point either. I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
Especially since it was Lego, like the opportunity presented itself that you really could have built all these elaborate different worlds that it would go through. And it was just, like, under a bed. And so maybe there's a little bit that was, like, to be desired, but that's okay.
I think the first thing I noticed was the song. I was like, this song's a little sexy for, like, trains. I mean, it was good. I mean, I got into it as it went on, but I was like, okay.
You were just, like, jammed to the sexy Lego train?
Yeah, I'm like...
Is anything too sexy for Lego trains?
Listen, at least I'm like... No, like, Zach's like, I want this to explode. I'm like, this song's just a little too sexy. It's fine. That's all I'm saying.
Would it have been better if it was Prince?
This is the part of the show where I say, ooh, I don't know a single Prince song. So I would...
And just like that, any cachet we had as a pop culture podcast went down the drain.
Yeah, there it goes. None of us have the cred.
Go to Pop Rocket for that. Come on, we're not that. We're like the antithesis of Pop Rocket. We're like they're like really popular, like people like well established in their industries. We're just babies like talking on microphones.
Mm-hmm. True.
Much love to Pop Rocket though. They're amazing.
Right. But I wanted to see like what this train looked like, because like the cover photo like showed like the train. I'm like, I want to see like sort of like what was under the hood of this video of this train going forward. I was like, because I did wonder like what was taking the photo or like the video. And like Zach was saying, like, it's pretty impressive that they're able just to like kind of balance this on there. Like, it doesn't even like slow down or like nothing really bad happens. It slows down a little bit like in like the grass, and I think that's just because there's grass all over it. So I'm like, I think it's pretty impressive. You know, I'm like,
My guess is it's probably a GoPro 4. Those things are like impossibly tiny. So
I know that Sony makes a spherical camera that you could probably lay into Legos pretty easily too.
Yeah,
or what's the
Sony
one?
action cam's really small.
The little one that's made in China. What's it called? We
Most
talked about it on the
things,
podcast before, but it's like a GoPro, but it's really little and it's like under $100.
Yeah, we talked about it in our cheap tech segment a while
Yeah.
back. I'll see if I can find the link and put it in the show notes.
So I'm wondering if that was what it was.
Yeah,
This kind of reminded
those
me,
look
and then Zach brought it up too. Of it would have been cool to see like the Hot Wheels like foam roller things to like accelerate it. Did you guys ever play the? This is gonna sound weird that I'm the one that's saying this, but did you guys ever play the Hot Wheels video games?
You know, I
Unfortunately.
had one. I don't remember playing it.
It kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
My distinct memory is my friend had it, and he was like going off like a ramp, and there was just like lava or something. It was like some like deep like cavern or like valley, and Metallica's Fuel was played, and that's like my only like distinct memory of like that experience.
That Lego train, it needed some more. It needs something more. It needed just like, I think, going back, Tyler, did you say the going through like different worlds or something like that? Or like setting up like maybe even, who said that?
Oh yeah. There's missed opportunities there.
Yeah.
Like when you go outside to do the outside yard, there could have been like some little plastic dinosaurs or something. Do like a little, Jurassic Park kind of theme going on. Like inside, you could have done like a Woody or another like a little Toy Story. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many like you could have made this thing viral.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is the sort of the technical aspect of making this train like construction wonderful, like very well done, very hard to do, should be commended. However, the video aspect of it, watching it just kind of go through like this guy's house that's like not very interesting. There's like a cat and a dog, and now like all the comments are just about the cat and the dog and not about this like glorious like thing that he did. It's like obviously if it had just given like a more visual feast to kind of look through, you're right. I think it would have made for stronger content.
Yep, thanks for putting our words into better words. Thank you.
Still, though, pretty sweet Lego train.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, that should not be understated. Is that it's very good and very cool.
Do you guys remember Lego trains? When they came out?
Yes.
It was a big thing. It was, and they were expensive too. I remember it was like $300 or something to get one of those things, and you got like just a little, like maybe 20 feet of track, which is enough to make like a 5-foot ring.
You're right, around your Christmas tree.
Right. Like it wasn't enough to like. I wonder how much he spent on all that track. Probably endless hours. Something tells me too when I was watching this. I don't want to project. Or sorry, maybe I should say I'm going to project some heteronormativity on this guy, but I don't think that his wife knew about this. But then part of me wonders if he does. Here's how I'm going to say this: if I ever did this anywhere where I lived, Sarah would go ballistic. If she came home and saw that I had laid out Lego track all over the house, she would be like, she'd probably just close the door and walk away. It would take a while for her to come back, but I would be in trouble a lot, I'm assuming.
See, I don't know. I've seen like some TV specials about people who are really into Lego, and their spouses are like very surprisingly tolerant of it.
He put this. All the doors in his house were open, and it didn't look like you could walk anywhere in this house without stepping on Legos. And everyone knows here
if maybe
how
that
bad
was
it
just
hurts.
set up for the video.
Well,
Because
yeah,
I mean, the outside doors were open too, which makes me think this is a temporary thing that he did to shoot this video.
Right, but still.
Unless it's a really nice neighborhood and that's just, okay to do, and, there's no bugs.
Yeah, where do you live where there's no bugs?
I don't know, but I
Right.
want to live there.
Right. I too want to live in this open door, no bug world.
Also, there could have been the chance that, there was, a whole other, second house in the backyard or something where his wife or other spouse, husband, etc., has, a huge, Connect carousel set up or something like that.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Connect, not Connect. Not to be
Oh,
confused
I
with the
hope
terrible Xbox.
Connects. Get on out of here with your Connects. That goes in the guest house. Crappy second-rate Legos.
What? Now you want to set up your Bionicle figures? Get out of here.
The guy who did the video of the train, Jesus. There's a collection of fails like that where the where the recording went wrong or something bad happened. There's one where a frog jumps in the way of it.
Yes.
So he's clear. Oh, it's on the tracks. And the train just knocks it out of the way. And that frog's just like, I'm not having any of it. I like that. That's almost better than.
Oh yeah. He must be driving
wanted
or something that the frog just like.
This is like why people like who don't like NASCAR watch NASCAR is like for like the wrecks because it's like obviously. Oh no, the cat's on the track. So good.
Could you imagine how terrible it'd be to be like making a video like this and then like right at the end of it after all this running you're like, oh god.
I love when it runs over the electric cord and just gets stuck.
I feel like you have to watch like the full, like at least one full like complete run to really appreciate the fails though. Oh!
Don't tell me. I want to be surprised. Oh,
like
shit.
This is like the mildest like oh shit like that like I think I've ever seen. That's like there are no stakes involved in this at all.
God. Yeah, no one's getting hurt.
It's like a train wreck that you can't turn away from. Oh, it's so.
Oh no! Oh, why is
like
he
the
doing
best
that?
type of train wreck because no one gets hurt. Nothing
Oh,
bad
when the
happens.
trains run into each other, it's so sad.
I would
Wait
never
till the
let
next
it go
episode.
through water like that.
My God, yeah, I know. That's so scary.
Oh, now the GoPro's all wet. Oh no!
Oh no!
This is like, oh my god, this is so sweet. It's like watching natural disasters. It's like really experiencing them, but no one gets hurt. Like I keep saying, it's so good.
I should have just said my topic on these video fails.
Oh man, that one at the end where he falls off the like the elevated track. That's terrifying.
No.
I just saw
That's
that.
like the only one that's like really bad.
I'm gonna
My
watch number
favorite
2
one was the
real quick.
underwater one. That was beautiful.
That was
yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, how did that happen?
Oh, what? It just
no.
rammed the other train.
God,
Wait
I
for
didn't
it.
give a fuck about that train. Oh, into the other one.
You're right, Ram.
Look out, Mr. Kitty.
Yeah, I think that's why the cat doesn't care. Like the cat doesn't touch it anymore because he's like, I'm not getting hit by that again. Mr. Kitty, get out of the way! Why is his house on fire?
So, we just took a minute to watch all of the videos where the Lego train fails as he was recording the main video, and we also watched Excited Train Guy for good measure. I think we can all agree that we are way more into trains now.
Yes, we actually now are excited train guy about this Lego train.
Seriously, listening to you guys react as the train was like hitting stuff and running off the tracks was hysterical. Because up in the corner of my computer screen, it's just like your very concerned faces, and you're all like, "Oh no, it's running off the track! It's gonna hit the cat! Oh no!"
It makes the original like video of it like working feel so much better. But that also leads me to ask, did he set those up on purpose? Like obviously like a toad getting in the way or like the cat like sitting there isn't like on purpose. But there's the one where like the door's closed or like he just runs two trains into each other. Like what's he doing? What's going on?
Just bad conductors, man. It's not his fault.
That's
many
true.
I just wonder, like, how many trains does this guy actually have?
Yeah, there's way more trains in the fails video for sure.
But I like the whole outside part. That got much better than what I originally imagined.
Yeah, him trying to run the train through the puddle was incredible.
Right. The whole, like, weaving in between the garden and, like, over the little bridge and stuff was cool.
I'm still not going to build a Lego train set,
No.
but that was pretty sweet. Alright, our next topic this week comes from Tyler. Tyler, what do you have?
Hey everybody, my topic this week is RTLDR, which I found while I was frantically searching for a topic this week.
Way to go, buddy.
I know. I have some. My initial idea was current year meme, and I realized that was probably too much of a bummer to talk about. So I decided to do something a little bit lighter. So RTLDR is a subreddit that is run by one guy, and he compiles sort of like the day's news into a single space. He provides links from like the different subreddits, and it's just basically the hits of the day. And so what I thought was interesting about it is the titles, in which they're usually kind of strung together in like a very interesting way, such as Princess died at age 57, Aerojet Rocketdyne wins a $67 million contract from NASA, and Robert Downey Jr. will be in Spider-Man Homecoming. You're like, sweet, that none of those things are connected, but I'm certainly interested in it. So I wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
So initial reaction, this is very similar to a lot of news things that are coming out right now. There are a few different apps that do things like that. I'm thinking of Apple News and Nuzzle. I'm subscribed to an email newsletter called The Skim that does something very similar, where you get like one paragraph on each of the day's top 5 stories. I think this is a new news format that a lot of people are really into right now. And so kudos to this guy for making it happen on Reddit.
It was all right.
It was okay.
It was... there's not really any RSS summation feed that does a super good job at explaining news. Maybe I'm just not the right audience for this either, because I like to read it, and I really like to scrutinize articles that I read heavily. So even when I was reading this, I was clicking on the articles to read the full one, because I was like, hey, listen, just because you found data and put it on a chart against each other, your correlation doesn't mean that there's any causation between there. So this isn't really news. This is just you found some data that conveniently worked out and you know how to use Excel. So, no, I'm sorry.
Well, I was kind of indifferent to it because I like to think I spend a decent amount of time on Reddit, as made evident by the lack of work I get done. But I was not aware of this page, and I feel like I should have been. I'm kind of like in the nice middle ground between what Taylor and Sean thought, because I didn't really like. It's like kind of like whatever. It's basically, to me, it felt like clickbait headlines that actually are what the article's really about. It's just like a quick, to the point, get you to like get on it. But even though he didn't really have a motive to have you do that, I do commend the guy for being passionate and dedicated enough to do it. And I know you had posted in your original notes, does it take away from kind of the, I think you said something to the effect of the communal
nature of Reddit?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it does in its practice, because I always expect to go to Reddit and have one of the users have done something really cool or just thoughtful or interesting, aside from just the circle jerking comments of jokes back and forth. So,
yeah, I think that was an interesting point. I don't really read the comments on Reddit very much anymore for that very reason. I mean, there are a few subs where I read the comments, but a lot of times I'm just headline skimming on Reddit itself. And so to have a TLDR of the top things on Reddit for the day, I mean, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I just wish maybe it was a little bit more Reddit-centric and less news-centric, because I'm already getting my news in that fashion from somewhere else.
That's true. And that's actually really interesting. I would like to kind of like pick at some of those like things you had talked about, like those like apps or whatever. I'd like to get like some links to those, because that's something I'm generally finding myself like kind of like looking for, because as someone, I guess, that's trying to be like a taste maker on the internet, I should probably have lots of like things coming at me that kind of like give me things to talk about or to look at. So I've been kind of looking for the fill the spot, and it's good to know that there's more out there than just this.
So what I would say to you and to Sean, who is shaking his head angrily at the idea of news apps, I really like Nuzzle, because it's not like a chronological news app of like, here's what happened in your day. You connect your Twitter to it, and then it shows you all of the articles your Twitter followers and the people you're following have shared. And it doesn't show them in chronological order. It shows them based on how many people have shared it. And so if 10 people that you follow on Twitter have been talking about this one article, it's going to show up right at the top of your Nuzzle feed, which is really kind of handy when you haven't been on Twitter for a couple of days. And I think you can connect Facebook to it too, but I never did because the people that I'm friends with on Facebook don't really share interesting articles. But it was kind of a nice TLDR of my Twitter feed.
I think to counteract what I think Sean is about to say, I think obviously maybe if it's about politics,
oh yeah, I don't
not
use
the
it.
best thing.
Yeah, no, I don't use it for hard news. I use it for albums that people are listening to or think pieces that people are reading. It's never hard news.
I don't like to use anything like that, and just because I feel like it's just another way to allow the effects of gatekeepers to have more control over what you consume. And I think that the nice thing about having an abundance of information is you can go out there and find content for yourself. Especially with hard news, it's actually it's easier. Like my search that I use, if anything, is Google News, because usually I click on the article, show me more if I actually want to read it, to see how many other articles there are that are posting it and get a good feeling of okay, who might actually be the best at reporting this particular thing. Because a lot of times it's whoever gets voted up is usually Google, whoever gets the most clips or whoever's the freshest or whatever. So you'll get Fox News reporting on something that's you're why did these guys even have anything to do with this? Why are they reporting on NASA? It doesn't even make sense. That's why I don't really trust those things. I don't think that the algorithms are good at picking out, or even people that, even if it's created by hand, that they're good at picking related news things that meet your interests. It's just not. I'd rather do that myself. It's okay if I don't find everything that everyone's talking about. It's all right. That's just me, though.
So what you're saying is that Google News does a better job of being Twitter moments than Twitter does. Is that what you're saying?
I don't really think I would.
No, because Google News is more impartial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Google News is definitely run by an algorithm, but the algorithm is it's also
keyword based.
Right. It's not that. It's still not that good though. You still have to be even when I get on Reddit News and I read that stuff, I'll look and see if it what's going on Google News, what's going on in Reddit News, what's going on Apple News, even though I hate that app. I don't know why they put that on the phone. It's terrible.
The only useful thing about it is the daily summary. And even that is debatable.
I feel like I should have known that Sean has strong opinions about news.
But I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead with your thought, because I might accidentally derail everything, so don't worry.
No, it's
I'm completely serious. Go ahead.
It's just news apps are horrible. That's just my 2 cents there.
Yep.
So the most brilliant app that does what I think it's supposed to do is Apple News, right? Because you can go through and pick your interests and all this other stuff. But Apple News does it in the most stupid way ever, because it doesn't give you any choices of what you're gonna give, of what you're gonna read. It just gives you oh, you liked graphic design. So it just gives you this spew of anything that has graphic design in it that has no meaning at all to what you're actually looking for. And the other thing I don't like about tailored news services either is that you don't get a sense of what else is going on in news. And not just news of what's going on in science today, what people are talking about.
Yeah, I think that's really the challenge for me, is what's going on outside of my circle of influence. Or as Clay Shirky might say, what's going on outside of my filter bubble. I have a bubble of people that I follow and of things that I've previously searched on Google and of blogs that I'm a fan of and everything, and that affects the way that the internet is presented to me. And I am very conscious of certain things that I read are being sent to me specifically because of all the other stuff that I've read. And I try really hard to get around that and read opposing stuff.
Right.
But I can't do that every day. It takes work to search that stuff out.
Right.
And I don't always take the time, and I know that I should.
Google News is not going to talk about the fact that right now on Twitter, one of the, there's been 20,000 tweets at Old Navy in the racist hate storm that came about by them posting an interracial marriage ad for their clothes. Google News isn't going to pick that up, but you don't see anybody on Google News or in their top 10 or anything talking about the attack on the Iraqi green zone this weekend. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you just, these are both interesting things that I feel we should know about, but we're not going to hear about them because these news programs are terrible at telling you like what's going on. There's just so much stuff out there to rely on one source to get you like what you need to know I think it's naive on the part of the consumer.
You know, I really just wanted to take this topic and use it as a way to talk about absurd news stories like UK Natural Environment Research Council naming a boat Bodie McBoatface by popular vote. So, you know, like...
That was a great transition. Like a cold bucket of water.
They're not going to name it that, though, because democracy doesn't work out in those situations.
I know. And that's why I'm so mad.
Hello Internet did a great discussion on this, where they were like, you know, they could have at least named one of the life rafts Bodie McBoatface. And then I think Gray said that, and then Brady said, yeah, but the problem is, then the internet will just get even more mad and say that they have to name the actual boat Shippy McShipface.
There was, when I was going to Athens this weekend, they said on NPR that over in the Arboretum they have 2 eagles that they're going to name, and they're like, what do you think the names are going to be? And I was like, Eagly McEagface, come on, like, just name this thing Eagle McEagface, liberty and freedom. Why? This is
right. And then, like, what I heard other people saying, they're like, they could have gotten away with they could have had a much worse name, like the USS Hitler was right, you know? Like, it could have been, like... They got Bodie McBoatface that isn't even offensive. It's just a stupid name. So that's kind of like... It's fine. I realized that Sean wanted to have a very serious point about news, and he's right. I think there's a lot of merit to what Sean said, that you need to be careful about where you get your news aggregated from, if you even should get it aggregated. But I just want to talk about goofy news.
Right. It's time for our third topic. Put on your best Tom DeLonge voice, because it's time to talk about Blink-182.
Or
Whoa,
Fred
Taylor.
Drescher, apparently.
Oh, Taylor. I don't appreciate that. That impression, it just wasn't right.
Not right.
Not right.
Something about spiders.
Where are you?
Anyway, now that we're done hating on Tom DeLonge a little bit, it is time to talk about Blink-182. Because they're back, and they have a new song that came out this week. Actually, 2 songs that came out this week from their new album with Alkaline Trio frontman Matt Skiba. And so I wanted to talk about it. We got the first single from the album. It's called Bored to Death. Wanted to know what you guys thought about it.
This is very Blink-182.
Is it? Sorry. He just put on sunglasses, like, right after he said that.
He's so California.
Yeah, dude.
It was, though. I thought it was very Blink-182.
What's
Is Travis still the drummer?
Plus 44.
How could Travis not still be the drummer with that 30-second drum solo at the end of the song?
I don't know. I don't know what kids do these days.
Doesn't he have he probably has like a clothing line he's also doing on the side, don't worry. He's got side gigs going on.
I just felt like it was boring.
Okay, alright. Well,
It was like
I came out swinging.
it was like Blink-182's new remake of the mixtape that they made last year with the last 7 albums that they made that wasn't I Miss You. You remember that one? Yeah, because you just listened to it.
It's not right.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I wish I could do a viable Mark Hoppus impersonation, but I just can't.
Which is the problem with Blink-182 without Tom DeLonge. Because nobody cares about Mark Hoppus as a vocalist. He's just okay. I mean, he has, like, listen, there's like, Tom DeLonge has one of the most iconic voices in, like, pop punk, like, ever. As noted by the jokes we just made for, like, a solid few minutes. and you're like, I want to do a Mark Hoppus impression. Nothing.
Oh, actually, hold on. I can do a Mark Hoppus impersonation. I just need to, climb on some other people's shoulders.
Ooh.
Sing. I'm just kidding. Thanks for the memories, Mark.
I don't know. I've always liked Mark more than Tom, so this was fun for me. I think it's a fun little pop punk song. I agree with Sean that it sounds like every other Blink-182 song, but I'm at a point in my life where I don't really need Blink-182's songs to sound different from their last song. They're like the only band that can just keep doing the same thing forever, and I really won't care. Because I just kind of associate them with, I don't know, being a teenager and that very particular sound that they have. Come at me, bro.
I think this had all the pretty much the classic components of a Blink-182 song, minus the Tom part. Because, Travis on point, he always does very interesting drum parts. He's really one of the better pop punk drummers because he actually, does different things. He actually does anything. Sean previously noted us as not a fan of Travis, but that's fine.
No, he's a good drummer. I'm not gonna count him out.
When you say he's one of the best pop punk drummers, you're not really comparing him against a strong set of people.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that goes to show that how much of a difference it makes that it's all you have to do is a little bit more than the basic stuff. And that's worth noting, I think. So I think that the drumming's good. And Taylor's one of his questions is this a Blink-182 song or is this a Plus 44 song? And I think it's closer to a Plus 44 song because Mark's vocals are much more subdued. Obviously, built this pool a little more classically, Mark.
But we'll get to that.
Right. So I really have hopes that maybe this song isn't. I wasn't in love with his vocal performance, but I have hopes that there'll be a nice range because I would like to think that with basically only one vocalist, unless Matt Skiba does some vocals, which I hope he does.
He did some on this.
I couldn't really tell.
The second verse is him.
Oh, whoops. See, I couldn't even tell.
No, that's a fair critique.
Intentional or not, I don't know. Because I listened to a little bit of his side stuff, and I was like, he kind of has more like a Bouncing Souls, older kind of punk kind of sound, which I kind of like. That would be kind of mix and matched, which is what made Blink-182 interesting in the first place. Is that you felt like you had two character voices and that kind of bounced off of each other, and I think it really needs that to sort of that's part of their storytelling almost. So it feels like it's necessary that they have two vocalists kind of going at it in a certain way. The lyrics I thought were a little more juvenile, which I guess isn't bad. But Neighborhoods was comparatively much more about abstract concepts. It was a little more ambiguous as to what they were about. Obviously, probably about relationships, but they had a different kind of rapping, a little bit more mature, a little more self-titled sort of styling to them.
I apologize in advance, but I've been done with Blink-182 since I was 15 years old, and that's fine if people like them. But this is just one of those bands, along with Green Day and Green Day, that I don't really understand why people like. And once again, it's fine if people like them, but it just seems so. It's juvenile, and I don't understand why they're still kind of being juvenile. I kind of honestly. Just a quick side tangent. I kind of felt really bad for Tom DeLonge back when he was doing Angels and Airwaves because he was trying to be more serious and be trying to do way more abstract things. And I thought he was on a really good path. But I felt like the majority of people out there didn't give him the time of day, and that's unfortunately because he ran around for 10 years with his dick out. And that's the sad truth about that. And I'm sure that when they were kids, they didn't have that foresight that that's the consequence of being funny and all that. But with this, as far as an actual fair, not just me being an asshole about it, critique on the song, it's just another Blink-182 song to me, with or without Tom DeLonge. Yeah, I do agree it does sound a lot more Plus 44 in terms of the vocal arrangements and everything, and I didn't realize, I thought that was still Mark on the second verse too. Production value it's pretty sterile. It doesn't really have much character to it. It sounds really crystal. I could barely hear Mark's bass on top of that. I don't know if it's because of maybe my computer's messed up, but it didn't sound like it was, unless he just was going in line with the guitar perfectly. Travis, as usual, solid drummer. Overall solid musician. I don't know. It's just another Blink-182 song. If that's what you want, that's fine. It's definitely not what I want.
Oh, I'm going to walk back some of what I said. I think it came off a little bit harsh. I think when I say, like Zach, that this sounds like a Blink-182 song, it's because, for me, it lacks a subtlety that I expect mature bands to have lyrically and musically. And that's why I just don't like Travis Barker that much, because it seems like he lacks subtlety in drumming. Every other 8 beats with him is a fill, and it's the same fast fill that, it doesn't, you can't hear other instruments. Zach's exactly right. I didn't even hear a bass in there when I listened to that, even though I watched the lyric video or whatever, and I just was like, okay. I just feel like there are more memorable lines from other Blink-182 tracks than this whole song. This will just be another, if this is the title track, this is what they want to attract people with. If you like Blink-182 and you like that sound, I think you're going to go for it. But if you're looking for something that has a little bit more weight to it, God, I hope this record is deeper than what this single is.
So that's kind of, I think, Sean, you bring up an excellent point there with depth. For me, Blink-182 is kind of an interesting band because of their lack of depth. The self-titled album, Neighborhoods, kind of stand out as being the two, deepest albums they had. And I think Tyler's right. Lyrically, Neighborhoods is a lot deeper, but it's an album that the band themselves are not very happy with, and that a lot of the fans aren't, largely because of fighting with Tom DeLonge, and most of the album was produced in 3 separate studios and then mixed together remotely. When you listen back through it, knowing that, it kind of shows, but I digress. I was really hoping that getting into the studio without Tom and being just in a better mood would produce something interesting out of these guys. And I think they feel more like a live band again. This song feels like it would be fun at a concert, but it lacks that depth that you had on Neighborhoods. And I think Sean's right. If the whole album is at this level, this kind of shallow level, the band's going to suffer for it. And don't get me wrong, I pre-ordered the album today, and I'm definitely going to go see them on this tour. But I'm doing it mostly for nostalgic reasons. I'm doing it because Blink-182 is the band I liked in high school, not because Blink-182 is the band that I'm obsessed with right now. And that's what my fear is that if the whole album is this song, I'm not going to love Blink-182 in the way that I did anymore, because they're old guys playing young people's music, and all of the young people that grew up on them are growing up. I think some bands can mature with their audience really well, and Blink just hasn't been able to do that recently.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where Neighborhoods was going. I felt that it was, and that's where their self-titled was. Their last 2 albums, I'm this is this is a progression of their pop punk style into a much more refined, interesting style, rather than their early days, which was just
dick jokes,
generic, generic punk, just straight punk, basic chords, basic drumming, very basic lyrics. But with their self-titled and Neighborhoods, they started doing more interesting intros, outros, sound effects, all this sort of stuff. So it feels like that's kind of what they evolved into.
My question for you is, okay, so clearly Blink-182 as a project has a sonic aesthetic that's pretty established. And they have a pretty deep collection of songs. They could probably not make an album and go on a tour and fill it up, entire sets and stuff. But they put out this new album, right? And it sounds kind of juvenile. And maybe it appeals to a juvenile audience. Do you want to go see a band that you love play a juvenile record that you are about, with a bunch of children that don't have any appreciation for the classic stuff that you want to watch? And is that respectful for you to go to a concert and sit there the whole time thinking, play the old stuff, play the old stuff?
I don't think so. I don't think it's...
Are young people going to a Blink concert?
And that's why. I don't think young people are going to a Blink concert. Because the last one that I went to, granted this was 5 years ago, it was a lot of people my own age who grew up listening to Blink. There were young people there, but they were all there in My Chemical Romance shirts, because MCR was touring on Danger Days at the time. and there were like girls in the masks from the Danger Days album art and stuff. And then when Blink came on, they like didn't know who they were.
Is that not a sign though? I mean, could that be worse than what I just said though? Like,
I think it's just different. I think gone are the days when young people were going to Blink shows. When you look at this tour, part of the reason I'm wanting to go to this tour is because it's a bunch of bands that I grew up listening to. Like, A Day to Remember is supporting on the date that I'm going to, probably. All American Rejects is on a bunch of dates. There's somebody else that's in that same ilk. Like, they're just playing up this 2000s emo nostalgia.
But it seems like it's getting worse, though. Like, literally, I think I would be the single of this song if I went to their concert. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to act like I wouldn't go see them, but I guess I'm just wondering if they can't appeal to a new audience, if they're just getting the same people, like, what does that mean?
Well, they are a veteran band. We can safely say that they've been doing this for way
Over
too long.
20
And
years.
like, right. So I mean, like lesser band, or like I guess technically would be greater bands, like bigger bands than them, like maybe like Van Halen or something, or like
Led Zeppelin
like,
Revival?
right? You know, like they're not making more albums. They're not like trying. Well, I mean, they're trying because they're playing music, which is obviously is a level of talent. But it's like, you know, they're kind of resting on what they've already established. And I feel like it's more admirable that they're trying to like keep going. And it's like, it's not that it doesn't feel like a cash grabber. Like they're phoning it in. Like, I think they still have ideas and still have things that they want to produce. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have kicked out Tom DeLonge. You know, like, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I just feel like they're just... I don't think it's a money grab. I just wonder if this horse is ready to go out to pasture. If Blink-182 is just ready to go and to stop with the project trying to revive it because everybody went and did their own solo thing, and now it's like, oh, hey, you want to get together? You know, like, I feel like I don't know why I'm being so negative on this either, because I like the Smashing Pumpkins. If anybody that should be offended by all this comments, it should be me. Corpses of a band that just like idly wanders from city to city and, you know, just like continually getting more pissed until it just like explodes and falls apart halfway and through overall America, you know?
I was actually going to bring that up too, about Smashing Pumpkins. That was actually my notes about it.
But Smashing Pumpkins went through a period where they were making really, I don't want to say juvenile, but very revivalist, like back to their roots music. I mean,
which one?
Zeitgeist is an okay album, but it really just kind of feels like Billy Corgan was trying to write 90s alt rock again. And so I'm wondering if maybe this is a growing pain. Blink needed to write a really juvenile pop punk record again before they went out and did something else.
But are they going to be able to get over that though? That's the thing. Like,
I don't know.
Maybe that was Billy Corgan's time where he really messed up. Like that was the last nail in the coffin.
But then Monument to an Elegy was so good.
I mean, but he still has to go to every show and listen to someone yell at him and say they want to hear the old stuff though.
I can't argue with that.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say more than anything else is like, maybe I'm not mad at Blink-182. I'm just sad knowing that like they're going to try and burn the candle on both ends in their twilight years. When, you know, we talked about this a little bit when David was on the show, that sometimes we just let this go. Just move on to other narratives and, like, see if you can make your way into something else.
Much in the same way of, like, Billy Corgan bringing back the Smashing Pumpkins with, at one point, still bringing back Jimmy Chamberlain on drums, but then another point with it where it's just him and 4 other people. I mean, much like now, it's Mark Hoppus and Travis and a new guy. It feels like, why do this? Why not just start a new project and just go from there? Because it's just like Sean says, you have like a big like sign above you that's like, hey, we're known for this, but now we're doing this, and it's like, it's kind of like, I don't want to say, it's just not, I just don't think it's very accurate to themselves or to fans, in my opinion, by still going under the moniker, both for Smashing Pumpkins and Blink-182, especially since it's not really going to be, I don't know, maybe Blink-182 can still be Blink-182. Like I said, it felt like a Blink-182 song. But it just feels very weird because, like we were talking about, how people are going to ask them to play the old stuff when they have all this new material that they're trying to push. With new person and stuff.
Well, I just realized they're not going to play like half of their hits.
Oh, they will.
Well,
But then aren't you going to be upset though if you like the new stuff and you go and watch it? Like, that's what I mean. Like, they just...
See, I don't think I
get
will.
it.
I don't think I will, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately since I saw Paul McCartney. Because going to see someone like Paul McCartney is an exercise in, like, studying fandom, right? And he is so conscious of everything that's going on at his shows. I mean, that dude is a showman. And so, at one point in the show, he did the song he wrote for Destiny, followed by the song he wrote with Kanye West. And in between the two songs, when a bunch of people had already gone to the bathroom, he went up to his mic and he said, you know, one of the things I like about doing concerts now is that unlike the old days, you all pull your phones out and there are all these big bright lights. And so I can tell when we're playing a song you like, because it's really bright out in the audience. And then I know when you don't like the new stuff, because all the lights go out. And he's perfectly okay with that. He's just like, you know, I can't keep playing the same 10 Beatles songs on every tour date. So I rotate Beatles songs through my set, and then when I'm not on tour, I go out and make studio albums. And then when I go on tour, I maybe play one song from the album and then all the hits. And that's what he does, and he makes good money doing it, and he enjoys it, and he meets tons of people every night that love him and love everything he's done. And I mean, it must be fulfilling for him because he seems to enjoy doing it. I think it's just an evolution as an artist that we're not used to seeing, and particularly not at as young, relatively of an age as the guys in Blink are. I mean, they're only in their 40s. They're really not that old.
but a little old for, like, dick jokes. But,
exactly.
I mean,
so they're too old for dick jokes, but too young to be elder statesmen of rock, like Jimmy Page and Paul McCartney. So what do we do with them? Like, how do we tolerate that? And I don't know what the answer is.
I wouldn't put them in the category of elder statesmen of rock.
No, they're not old enough. Or
I don't even think
in
that they
that
would
pantheon.
make it on the royal court of rock.
Please.
Okay, Billy Corgan.
Please.
I was gonna say, like,
Please, Sean.
I would
Rock
put
and Roll
Paul
Hall of
McCartney
Fame
as like the
accepts
Gutenberg Bible
anyone-
and Blink-182 as like the dirty dish rag that you're attached to because you used it to dry off when you were a kid.
Thanks, Billy Corgan. We get it.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame accepts literally everyone, but no one that you want. So keep hating Sean, because then they'll get in.
They're almost eligible.
Keep hating.
All right, everybody, our fourth topic this week comes from Zach. Zach, what do you have for us?
Today, I would like to talk about the evilest thing in the universe, spoilers.
Oh, no!
I know. Yes. We've all had to deal with them from time to time, usually in terrible ways. I remember whenever I had the worst spoiler of my life, and it was that I found out that, spoiler alert, by the way, Han Solo was killed by his son Kylo Ren in Force Awakens. Please note that I saw this posted on Facebook purposely for someone to see it by some asshole 2 hours before I was going to see the early showing the day before the release of the movie. I was very pissed. I thought about inviting the guy to fight me, but when I went back home, I couldn't find the post. But, so basically what I want to talk about is spoilers, and are they something that we should be... Because we live in a society where we are very concerned about spoilers. I mean, people will say that all the time. Oh, wait, don't tell me, I haven't watched that yet. Or, hey, man, no spoilers. Or people get pissed if someone posts a video or something like that and they say a spoiler and they don't mark it. Which, admittedly, you should. But my questions are, first, when was the first spoiler you can ever remember that you had spoiled? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the one that actually was a bad one for you. Also, the worst spoiler you've ever gotten.
The first spoiler that I can remember is somebody telling me that Cedric Diggory dies at the end of the fourth Harry Potter book before I had finished the book. But it was really, well-meaning. I was pretty far along in the book. I was, carrying it around school. And somebody was like, oh, it's really sad what happens to Cedric. And I was like, oh. Okay. And I was probably pretty close in the book to it happening. but I just remember, like, being pissed about that. As far as the worst spoiler goes, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I think I do a pretty good job of either avoiding spoilers or just not particularly caring when things get spoiled. I did get all the way through Force Awakens without any spoilers, though, which I was really, really proud of. I wasn't doing some kind of like John Syracuse shit, but I was being very intentional.
I think the real only spoiler moments I've ever had are with Game of Thrones. Because I feel like that's the only series I've ever, like, cared about or, like, was, like, planning on watching enough to, like, for it to, I feel like for me to be like, it's a spoiler. You know, of course we all experience the ones where it's like, I've never seen The Sixth Sense, so I don't care. Cause whatever. But I definitely knew that Tywin Lannister died. Oh, that's right. I'm only talking. Zach, you watched Game of Thrones, right?
Oh, I've never watched it, ever. I don't know if I wanted to at one point in time because people tell me I'd like it, but I've just never gotten around to it. I don't care. Like, much like
so
Facebook has told me everything that's happened. I don't care. I might watch it.
Right. It's also been kind of like Walking Dead, too. It's kind of also been spoiled free. So those are the two real things, and I've never really been that upset about them. I could have sworn you watched Game of Thrones, but whatever. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
No, it's okay. No worries.
So anything that I'm going to say doesn't matter. But I think those are the, like, appropriate shows to be, like, spoiled about because they're kind of, like, right as the time as, like, Facebook kind of hit, like, that sort of, like, almost, like, trolly, spoilery level, and, like, people really, like, wanted to talk about it. Because it was definitely, like, a show that you could, like, watch and then immediately talk about, whereas a movie, I feel like, I don't know, not everyone's as concerned about it, but people wanted to, like, talk about these shows specifically.
Cool. Sean, let's get you pretty salty on this. I need some salt. My sodium level's really low.
Oh, good, because I actually am. It doesn't really. I don't really have any spoilers. I actually would rather have somebody actually find out. I'm one of those people that actually goes and reads what the movie's about. I'll wait for a couple days before it comes out to read what it actually is before I'll go. A good story about how this happened, something I really hated was nobody told me that the last Hunger Games was terrible. I went and saw it, and it was terrible, and I actually was kind of mad about it that it was terrible. I would rather have somebody have told me, hey, this is really terrible. You should not go see this in a theater. Go see something else that's really good. The only thing
Does, like, looking up Rotten Tomatoes count as a spoiler?
Not if it's a review, like a non-spoiler review, or if you're just looking at, like, the stats, I would think. I mean, if you're looking at places where you know it's, like, sensitive to where they might be spoiled, you're doing it to yourself, really. Then again, I guess, like, that was my fault for getting Star Wars spoiled because I was on Facebook, like, just checking some notifications. But to be fair, that's like throwing Agent Orange in a swimming pool. I mean, it's not fair.
I think the other thing I think is really strange about spoilers is I feel like they operate in this really sensitive area for people. So, like, the thing about a spoiler is, like, you know that there's something that's going to happen. So you expect to be surprised, and you're willing to pay to know what the surprise is, but you don't want to know about the surprise until you've paid to have the surprise. I don't understand that.
I
that
think
logic doesn't make sense.
I think you're overthinking it because you're getting it too into the economics of it, and I'm paying $7 for the movie ticket, and so I'm paying for the experience of the surprise. For me, I'm paying for the overall experience. I am paying to shut off my brain and be in a different environment and experience some kind of story.
I think you're paying for the hype.
I'm not paying for the hype.
Over the story. I'm
not paying for the hype. Because, yeah, with Force Awakens, for example, there was a lot of hype. But one of the things that I was really intentional about with that movie was not watching the trailers too heavily, not reading any of the speculation, none of, like, the hype. Like, I go full on Apple hype. I read all the stuff. I know what they're going to release and what they're going to call things before the Apple press event thing. Because I don't really care. But with the Star Wars movie, I'm, like, emotionally invested. And so beyond knowing what's in the trailer and knowing the release date, I didn't really know anything going into that movie. And that's how I like it. I want to experience it as this fresh thing and not sit there and in my brain go, okay, well, we haven't seen this shot from the trailer yet, so I know we're not there yet. Oh, well, this person hasn't died yet, so I know the movie's not over yet. Like, if I know things going in, I'm going to sit there and overanalyze the movie as I watch it.
But
And
also, it's like looking at your Christmas presents early. You're like,
Mhm.
okay. I mean, like,
Yeah,
you
and
obviously
then you
you're
just have to fake
still very thankful for
surprise
them.
and-
You're like, yay, thank you so much. It's exactly what I wanted. As opposed to, wow, this is exactly what I wanted. Oh.
Yeah, and it's kind of the thing with me, and this is my reasoning on why I don't like having things spoiled, and I go out of my way to make sure I don't spoil things for people intentionally, is that you're kind of if it's you getting something spoiled or anyone, you kind of get this predisposition because you find it in a situation or context that doesn't go in line with how you were supposed to experience it. So then if you know what's going to happen, you lose all the organic like emotion or reaction that you could have had to that moment. It's almost like if you're just like, oh man, Subway's got a new sandwich, if people actually did Subway, and someone's like, oh yeah, man, that sandwich sucks. So you're going to go into that being like, well, that guy says it sucks, this might suck, or something like that. Not necessarily a spoiler, but it just kind of cheapens the how the experience can be.
It's like listening to an album after you've watched an Anthony Fantano video where he tears it apart.
Oh yeah, needle drop guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's entertaining.
We're big fans of the Antoine Fantoine around here.
Yeah.
But my question is, why can't you disagree with that though?
Oh, you can. You totally can.
Okay, so spoilers don't bother me because it's way more about the journey for me than it is about being spontaneous and see what's coming down the road. I would rather know what's at the end because the exciting part is how you get there. So the spoilers don't really bother me. That's not a big deal. And if you want to know like my reaction to being sensitive to spoilers, it's not that good because I feel like sometimes if it's something that's really like people are really anxious about being spoiled, I feel like I need, like, after I watch something, after I consume something, I want to talk about it with other people. And if I'm afraid I'm going to spoil it, I'll wait for like 1 or 2 weeks till everybody who's going to be upset about spoiling it has seen it. So that way they can tell me about it and I can go and see it. So I don't have to worry about like seeing it and be like, hey, did you guys see that at the end of Better Call Saul, Jimmy McGill blank?
Well,
I don't want to have that burden on my...
And that's why we don't do the spoiler horn on this show, right? So, like, on a lot of podcasts, particularly in comparable network shows, they do a sound effect or something, or they, like, stop what they're talking about to say, we're going to spoil things after this point. And I think we've made it very clear on this show that we assume a reasonable threshold of time. If you haven't seen The Force Awakens by now, it came out 6 months ago, 7 months ago, we're going to spoil it. Sucks to suck. You should have seen it already. Like... I don't feel bad about that stuff. It's the day of release spoilers that bother me, where you haven't even given people time to assess it.
I like to refer to that as the Snape kills Dumbledore spoilers.
Yes, exactly. The Snape kills Dumbledore spoilers.
That doesn't bother me, though. Why do I have to be sensitive to somebody whose super fandom isn't going to draw them to do something that they want to do immediately?
To be fair, we're also talking about Sean, the guy who has quintessentially said that you do not... You want to watch movies in a very like, it's very like, it's almost like not about emotions or experiences. It feels like you want like the story. I don't know. It feels like so much more objective. Like it feels like you're right that wouldn't bother you to like know what something's going to happen because you're still like watching the whole thing as like an experience rather than like you're not waiting for like the surprise.
Someone can tell me that Han dies at the end of Star Wars, and when I see it for the first time, I will still be shocked that Han dies. Because the whole movie wasn't about Han dying.
I see where you're coming from, and I think it's very interesting actually because
if that's the only thing you got out of it, Taylor, that's all right. I'm
not saying the whole movie is about Han dying. I mean, you haven't seen it, so you can make that assessment, but there are moments of that movie that definitely feel like Han Solo's last hurrah.
Well, I'm just going to give credit to the writers that they made a more interesting story than
there's
the last
definitely
hurrah
more
of Han
going on
Solo.
than that, but it has its moments of like, we just put this in here because we need Harrison Ford to do some last minute heroic stuff.
I think it's fine, like your perspective on it, Sean. I really do. It's actually intriguing to me because so you can go see a movie even after like knowing like like major plot points, and you still feel what you would think is the actual emotion you would feel even if you hadn't found out. I'm not. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I
don't
wish
like
I
I don't
could do
like
that.
surprises.
So
It might just be like a personal thing. Like I don't like. I would rather know what I'm going to see so I can prepare properly to go see it.
So did you know about the ending of Fight Club when you first saw Fight Club?
No, because it was before I started doing this. Before I cared about spoilers, I feel like wasn't even a thing when Fight Club came out.
Right, but
When
I
I
think
first saw
Fight Club
Fight
is a
Club.
really good example of a movie that if you know the spoiler, it changes the way you perceive the movie.
But you should. You should. That's the thing. Like Fight Club is a good example of that. That when you watch Fight Club, I think is interpreted probably consistently wrong by almost every adolescent boy who watches Fight Club for the first time.
Well, yeah, the key is to watch Fight Club more than once.
Well, that's
And understand
like
the
why don't
point.
we talk about how Fight Club is like this brilliant movie about Freudian psychology?
Because most people only watch it once.
So I don't know. Maybe I just have a really different philosophy about this stuff. It doesn't bother me.
It's certainly much more calculated.
Mm-hmm.
Calculated in that it's like
I do watch things for the first time, like not researching them and stuff. Like I'll go on Netflix and just like I had no idea what was it, Big Problem in Little China.
Big Trouble in Little China? Yeah.
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. After Tyler talked about it, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty good." I didn't look it up. I just went on Netflix and found it and watched it, and it was pretty funny. I liked it a lot. But it wouldn't have bothered me if he would have said like, "Oh yeah, well actually, there's a crazy werewolf monster whose plotline never gets figured out."
there's never really I don't think there's really particularly a moment in Big Trouble in Little China that you're like, oh, that's a spoiler. Like it's
So if someone whose opinion you trust says that the movie's good, you'll go and watch it, no questions asked, and not like look up anything about it.
No,
He still looks it up.
Gotcha. That's really
it depends on what it is. Like, I don't, and sometimes too, I'll go like. I think the only person whose trust I really follow when we go is Sarah. If she's like, "Oh, I went and saw this movie, we should go see it again. I really liked it." I'll go with her. I won't look it up. But she wanted to go see, what was that holiday movie? Krampus?
Oh no.
She wanted to go see it, and I told her, "I'm not going to see that." She's like, "Why?" I was like, "I looked at the plot line. That looks dumb."
See, that feels different to me, and I don't know why.
Yeah, same here.
Because there's something about that that kind of movie that I'm just like, I don't care about spoilers. I just don't.
Is it because you guys are in love? Is it because you love the Star Wars franchise?
No, because
That holds a special place for you?
No, because I did the same thing with, I do the same thing with a lot of like dramas and action movies where I don't want to look at spoilers, but I think there's something about comedies where I don't really care.
Yeah, comedies don't usually have like ups and downs that are like that important in their plot. Like, yeah, they're there, but it's admittedly, yeah, with Star Wars, there's a lot of emotional investment, and of course, over time, since most of us saw it when we were kids, and it changed our lives. But it's even outside of that. It's like I saw, for example, I haven't seen The Revenant yet. My grandpa was watching it downstairs and was like halfway through the movie, and I saw that that's what it was. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to watch this yet. I want to see it like the full way through.
Yeah, and
like,
see,
I
The
ducked
Revenant is a movie that I would not want to have known spoilers for.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because you want to see that movie, though?
Well, I didn't even particularly want to see The Revenant. I just had friends that were going to see it, and I knew like vaguely what it was about. And going into it like that, I feel like it was a much more interesting experience than if I had known the plot beats. Because it's not a particularly plot-driven movie, but it has enough key plot beats to it that I would have been less interested had I known them ahead of time. It's also really long, and so had I known what was coming, I may not have sat through all of it, but it's still really good.
right, like Hateful Eight, where if you know what happens at the very end, the movie completely falls apart.
Well, that's every Quentin Tarantino movie.
I was about to say the same thing.
So I guess basically, we're going back to the questions. What I'm saying is, Yes, I think that spoiling is something that we should just get over.
Well, it's time to round out the show like we always do, with a round of shameless plugs from the panel. We're going to start, as always, with graphic designer, illustrator, internet personality, Tyler Reed. Tyler.
Board game aficionado.
Board game aficionado. Go ahead.
So you guys can find my work at tylergreed.com, and you can connect with me on social media on Instagram and Twitter as TDR Design.
Political analyst Sean Evans. Shameless plugs from you.
Check me out on Twitter, and my handle is @Evans_ME or MURGE. God, I've done this like 55 times and I don't even know my own Twitter handle.
Maybe you should make it easier to remember Twitter handle.
Twitter. Yes, Twitter.
Evans_Bay. There you go. Let's see if that exists.
That's about it.
Zach, thanks for joining us this week.
Cool, thank you for having me. I'm going to... Yeah, sorry.
And if people want to find your designs or your podcast, where can they do that?
It's too many places. Your best bet is to just check me out on Twitter. I'm at Zach Shonkwiler, exactly how my name is going to be spelled in the description. I also do host Ordinary Folk Podcast, which I just talk to ordinary folk and try to make a connection and make a few dick and fart jokes along the way. Also, May 4th, I will be performing, which this is not going to be up before then. But
no,
still,
it'll come out May 8th.
Okay. Well, either way.
Do you have any shows after that?
I don't know. That's what I was going to say is I'm performing at the Funniest Person in Cincinnati contest on May 4th in the amateur bracket. If I make it through there will be more shows. So just follow me on Twitter. I'll say it on there. It'll be cool. I follow back. Revine for Revine. Poke me on Facebook. I poke back.
That sounds vaguely sexual. Well, you can follow
Good
me.
Good news, Sean. Evans Bay still exists. You can take it. It's all yours.
Just make it for me right now.
Don't do that. Sean already has like 4 Twitter accounts. Sean, you can change your Twitter name and not delete your account, right?
You're going to have to show me how to do that sometime, you cool cat.
It's really easy. It's in settings.
Okay.
You can follow me on Twitter at TC Olmstead. You can also follow me on Instagram. You can follow the show and like the show on Facebook.com/DudeBrunch and Twitter.com/DudesBrunch. And if you have something you want us to talk about, or a dare, or a question for us, we are doing another Listener's Choice special for episode 60 of the podcast. You can send them in as tweets to @DudesBrunch or email dudesbrunch@gmail.com, and we will do whatever you tell us to do on the podcast within reason.
Asterisk next to that one.
Whatever you tell us to do within reason.
This is a review.
Other than that, thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next week for more brunch.
All right.
Cool.
Okay.
You ready?
That'll be our new intro for Radio Lab, where they're like, "All right,
Okay.
right,
All right.
You're
listening to the
radio.
news hour." All right. Fuck. Okay, let's go. Let's keep moving.
What's Radio Lab?